Hey, welcome back to Full-Time Review. I'm Tamerra, and I am here to give you your quick refresher on this weekend's NWSL action, the last of the regular season, and also some international soccer happenings from around the world sprinkled in. To start, BFC and the Portland Thorns clinched those final two playoff spots that we've been talking about for weeks and will be playing in the quarterfinals. BFC beat the Houston Dash 3-2, and the Portland Thorns beat Angel City 3-0. Now, this BFC game was huge. They played in Houston, and it was a masterful performance from striker Rachel Kunenanji, who recorded both her first brace and the club's first ever brace, which came in major handy. I mean, so did the own goal that the Houston Dash scored to sort of open up the scoring. But Rachel's brace is what sent them over the edge and into the playoffs. Now, this is huge. BFC also with this victory becomes just the second expansion team in NWSL history to reach the playoffs in their expansion year. And with that victory, they became the expansion team to have earned the highest number of points at the end of the regular season. Let's hear from BFC head coach Albertine Montoya about what this means for the team.
First of all, just very happy and proud of the players and happy for the fans that have supported us all season long. We like to make it exciting every single game. So I guess maybe that's why the fans enjoy watching us play. Tough game to come in here and play in Houston. I thought they played well. And I thought, we had a few nerves here and there. But the fact that we were able to find a way shows a lot of character for this team. And I'm actually exhausted right now because we had to work for it. And I told the team before the game, we don't make it easy on ourselves. We never do. We like to do it the hard way. And they proved again that they can overcome a lot, and maybe not necessarily our best game, but the heart and just the energy and the belief really showed in that second half. And I'm so happy for the team and the organization.
Now, heading back to the West Coast, the Portland Thorns also sealed their spot in the playoffs with a pretty definitive 3-0 victory over Angel City. Let's hear from the Athletics' Steph Young, who was in Portland to cover not only the game, but the celebration of the incredible career of Christine Sinclair.
This is Steph Young coming to you from outside of Providence Park. We just saw the Thorns beat Angel City 3-0, which salvaged their playoff race hopes, leading with a goal from who else but Christine Sinclair, who is retiring from the game after this season. It was kind of a sad but fun night at the same time, which is a lot of emotion to hold together. After the game, you might have seen some screenshots of Christine Sinclair sitting with her own cardboard cutout of herself and her dog, Charlie. She said Charlie will probably be a lot happier to have her home more often, but not just yet. There's still a sense of, they still have the playoffs left to go. They're trying to earn a fourth star. I think a national championship would obviously be a great way to fet the outgoing GOAT. So we'll see what the Thorns have in store, especially going into an off season after, despite making the playoffs, honestly, not the best season that they've ever had. Even Sinclair herself said in post-game tonight, the team finally felt like they did a few years ago. So I think everybody's eager, at least on the Thorns side, to see if they can take this momentum into playoffs and really parlay it into a championship.
All right. That being said, our playoff table is set in the NWSL. Here's what we're looking at heading into the week. On November 8th, we have the number 1 seed, the Orlando Pride, facing off against the 8th seed, the Chicago Red Stars, on Prime, where we always go for our Friday night football, of course. And then the next day, on November 9th, we have the 4th seed, Kansas City Current, taking on the 5th seed, North Carolina Courage. Personally, this is the one that I am maybe most excited about. Two very interesting teams. That's going to be on CBS and Paramount Plus. Then on November 10th, we have two quarterfinals. The first against the number 2 seed Washington Spirit and the 7th seed BFC in DC at 12:30 Eastern. That'll be airing on ABC. And we'll be closing out with the 3rd seed Gotham FC and the 6th seed Portland Thorns at 3 p.m. Eastern. Whew. All right. It feels like a whole new season with playoffs because the chaos is going to be exponentially more chaotic and anything can happen. I can't wait. But we have to discuss the other scores around the league that we haven't already mentioned. So Gotham and the Utah Royals A victory yet again for Gotham, who beat the Royals 4-1. Orlando barely edged the Seattle Reign in Orlando 3-2. The Chicago Red Stars fell 1-3 to Kansas City Current, who really came to play. They were in Chicago, but they sorta. And to close out the season, the very last game of the NWSL, Racing Louisville against the San Diego Wave, which resulted in a victory for the San Diego Wave, 3-1, with goals from Jaden Shaw, Maria Sanchez, and Savannah McCaskill for the Wave, and a lone goal from Bethany Balser for Racing. With this result, it was already predetermined that Racing Louisville was not going to make the playoffs. They will finish the league 9th in the table again. This has been a trend for Racing, mysteriously, for 4 years, even with all the expansion. But the bigger news was that this game was scheduled to take place in San Diego, but it actually took place in Louisville. Now, I'm joined by Meg Linehan, who reported on this venue change. Meg, what happened in San Diego? How did we end up with this last-minute venue change for a game that, at the time that this was announced, was actually a huge deal for both teams?
Yeah, I mean, heading into the weekend, everybody was thinking, like, the final game of the season could mean something if either Portland or BFC don't get their results. Obviously, not what happened. So in the end, because I do think, I had immediately seen some reaction from Portland fans being like, whoa, if we lose, like, this could really come into play for other teams, because we haven't really seen when a game gets moved because a venue is unavailable or whatever it is, it going to the complete like what should be the away team. We haven't really seen that in the NWSL. But to rewind, so San Diego announces on like right before the weekend is about to kick off that they're actually unable to host the game because of field conditions. So they did make the decision for player safety, which I think is a good thing. I think everybody agrees is a really good thing. We have seen comments over the past few weeks about the quality of the pitch at Snapdragon. That is not a new issue in the slightest. Sandra Herrera, friend of the pod, had also reported that San Diego has been fined by the league for the quality of the field over this season. And yeah, so the game gets shifted to Louisville, which is, again, at that time, a pretty interesting decision to say the least.
Absolutely. And while it ultimately didn't give Louisville the home field advantage boost that it otherwise may have if the results of those Thorns and BFC games had been different. But Meg, can we be frank that this is really, really bad, if not embarrassing for the Wave, right? I mean, there were supposed to be celebrations for Emily Von Egmon's 100th cap. Alex Morgan was supposed to make an appearance, and now none of that can happen. And it's the last game of the season.
Yeah, last game of the season, fan appreciation game. Obviously, San Diego has had just kind of a miserable year, as we discussed last week on this very show, being sued by employees. Like, a lot of things are happening. None of them are good for San Diego. And what's worse, too, is that this problem that San Diego is hitting with Snapdragon Stadium is only going to get worse because MLS is incoming next year. So you're adding yet another team to the same surface. And, like, in theory, Snapdragon Stadium did post something to say, like, this was an aesthetic choice and, like, we're working on it. But also, like, no, well, it's straight up a player safety issue. We've seen how many injuries happen at Snapdragon Stadium. What I find really interesting, just from like a bigger league point of view, is, I mean, in my previous life working at biotech, if you had this many things going wrong, like a governing agency would come in and essentially be like, A, you're either going to get like straight up investigated for all these things going wrong, or B, like, we're about to step in and put you under what's called a consent decree and help you run your business. And so like, I can't help thinking of that and how that approach could maybe come into effect for a team where, like, venue, we've heard so many times how important venue control is. San Diego is currently, like, the perfect encapsulation of when everything could go wrong, how bad it can get.
Tell me about it. It feels like, in fact, the only thing that went right for them this weekend was that victory. Of course, it didn't mean much because San Diego has long been out of playoff contention, but a lot of very urgent question marks around that team. And I'd say at this point, the pen is red with those question marks. Here's hoping that they make the most of this offseason because they have a lot of things to figure out both on and off the field. Thanks for joining us, Meg.
Thank you.
And to pan out even further from the NWSL to look at women's soccer that's been happening around the world, North Korea won the U17 Women's World Cup championship, beating Spain on penalties. Zambia also won COSAFA, beating South Africa on penalties. And then in France, there was a major showdown between two of the top teams in Ligue 1, Lyon and PSG. It resulted with a victory for Lyon. And guess who scored the winning goal? None other than former PSG striker, current Lyon player, Tabitha Chewinga. Nothing better than scoring against your own club in a big game, right? And that's it. So much to get through, and we are only getting started because, like I said, we are officially in playoff season in the NWSL, so make sure that you stay tuned both to this show, Full Time Review, and our longer weekly show, Full Time with Meg Linehan. And continue reaching out to us. Let us know your playoff predictions in the NWSL, players that you think are going to be popping off this playoff season. We want to hear from you. Make sure that you reach out to us at fulltime@theathletic.com. Give us a follow on all the platforms at TA Fulltime. And if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, I don't know what else to tell you other than a gentle reminder that it is free and you can get yourself right at theathletic.com/fulltime. Comprehensive coverage everywhere you look. Thank you, as always, for listening to this week's episode. It's not possible without show producer Theo Lloyd-Hughes, video producer Leah Griffin, and executive producer Emily Olson. I'll see you Thursday.